You probably look at the massive pile of tactical survival gear in your closet and think you are perfectly prepared for the day the power grid collapses. But here's the terrifying truth the survival industry is desperately hiding from you. Half of that expensive gear isn't just useless, it is mathematically guaranteed to get you killed in a real blackout. You haven't bought a survival advantage. You have purchased a highly expensive, color-coordinated suicide kit. Your house will become a concrete tomb, and the very tools you bought to save your family will be the exact instruments that seal your fate. In a permanent grid failure, these 6 incredibly popular survival items will snap, freeze, or actively poison you before the end of day 3. Are you unknowingly relying on the exact tools that will ensure you do not survive the first week? Before I expose the 6 death trap items currently sitting in your bug-out bag and the brutal physics of why they fail when the lights go out, smash that subscribe button. I decode the unforgiving mathematics of extreme survival so you don't become a cautionary tale when the systems fail permanently. We need to establish the baseline reality of a collapsed grid. The survival industry is a multi-billion-dollar marketing machine. They do not design gear for a post-collapse apocalypse. They design gear for weekend camping trips and Instagram photo shoots. They sell you the illusion of capability, but when the electrical grid dies, the rules of society evaporate, and the cold, unfeeling laws of thermodynamics and biology take over completely. Nature does not care how much money you spend on Amazon. Physics does not negotiate with your brand loyalty. If you are relying on any of these 6 items, you are operating under a fatal delusion. Item number 1, the personal survival straw water filter. You have seen the ads. A rugged hiker leans over a muddy puddle, sticks a plastic straw directly into the dirt, and drinks crystal clear water. It looks like magic. It looks like the ultimate hydration solution. You buy 5 of them and throw them in your family's emergency bags, thinking you have just solved the water crisis. You haven't. You have just guaranteed your own dehydration. Let's break down the tactical and biological failures of the personal survival straw. First, the tactical nightmare. To use this device, you must physically put your face inches from the water source. You must lie on your stomach, in the mud, in a potentially compromised environment, and suck the water up through the filter. In a grid-down scenario, where desperate people and predators are roaming, lying prone on the ground with your spatial awareness completely tunneled is a massive tactical vulnerability. But the biological failure is even worse. You cannot transport water with a basic survival straw. You can only drink what is right in front of you. When you are sheltering in your freezing home during a blackout, you cannot bring a puddle back to your living room. You have to leave your secure perimeter every single time you want a sip of water. And then, there is the hidden physics trap that actually kills you. Freezing temperatures. Inside that straw are microscopic hollow fiber membranes. When you drink, water fills those microscopic pores. If you are in a winter blackout and the temperature drops below freezing, the residual water trapped inside those pores expands as it turns to ice. The expansion physically shatters the microscopic ceramic or fiber membranes. The filter is now broken. But here is the terrifying part. The plastic casing looks completely fine. You won't know the internal filter is shattered until the next time you drink from a contaminated stream, suck raw, parasite-loaded water straight into your gut, and die of dysentery 3 days later. Throw the straw away. You need a gravity filter or a single-walled stainless steel bottle that allows you to boil water and transport it safely. Item number 2, the hand crank emergency flashlight. It feels like the ultimate sustainable prep. A flashlight and radio combo that never needs batteries. Just turn the crank, and you have infinite light and information. It is the perfect off-grid tool, right? Wrong. It is a thermodynamic deficit, and it will slowly drain the life out of you. Survival is a strict mathematical equation of calories in versus calories out. In a cold, dark house during a blackout, your body is fighting a relentless battle to maintain a core temperature of 98.6 degrees. Every calorie you possess is a vital piece of fuel for your biological furnace. When you grab that hand crank flashlight, you are forced to perform vigorous, repetitive physical labor. You crank the handle for 5 agonizing minutes just to generate roughly 3 to 5 minutes of weak, pathetic, flickering light. You are trading massive amounts of irreplaceable human metabolic energy for a microscopic electrical return. But the true danger is the moisture paradox. As you sit in the freezing dark, frantically cranking that plastic handle, you begin to exert yourself. Your heart rate elevates. You begin to sweat. I have warned you about this before, and I will say it again. In a winter survival scenario, sweat is a death sentence. Water conducts heat away from your body 25 times faster than air. You just covered your skin in moisture to generate a few minutes of light. When you stop cranking, that sweat flash cools your core. You traded your body heat for a dim bulb, accelerating hypothermia. And to make matters worse, the internal gears of those cheap, mass-produced crank lights are made of low-grade plastic. In sub-zero temperatures, that plastic becomes incredibly brittle. One aggressive crank, and the internal gears shear off completely. Now you have no light. You are sweating, you are freezing, and you burned your critical calories for absolutely nothing. By high-quality LED headlamps and stockpile lithium batteries. Do not power your gear with your own life force. Item number 3, the prepackaged 72-hour survival kit. You bought peace of mind in a duffel bag. For $200, a company shipped you a bright red backpack filled with everything you need to survive for 3 days. You shoved it in your closet and patted yourself on the back. You just committed the greatest sin in emergency preparedness, outsourcing your survival knowledge to a corporation optimizing for profit margins. Open that bag and look at what is actually inside. You will find a flimsy multi-tool made of cheap pot metal that will bend the moment you apply actual torque. You will find a first aid kit that consists entirely of adhesive bandages and alcohol prep pads, useless against the severe trauma, deep lacerations, or infections that actually threaten your life in a collapse. But the real insult is the food. Look at the emergency ration bars included in those kits. They are nothing but compressed flour, sugar, and industrial seed oils. They give you a brief sugar spike, followed by a massive insulin crash. Your brain, which consumes 20% of your daily caloric intake, runs on glucose, but desperately needs complex fats and proteins to manage sustained, high-level stress. Eating chalky sugar blocks while trying to navigate a collapsing city will leave you shaking, cognitively impaired, and suffering from severe decision fatigue. Worse, you have no relationship with the gear in that bag. You have never tested the flashlight. You have never practiced with a fire starter. When the blackout hits, you will be opening plastic packaging in the dark, trying to read tiny instruction manuals while your family panics. You do not buy a survival kit. You build one, piece by piece, testing every single item until it becomes an extension of your own body. If you bought a pre-made bag, empty it onto your floor today. Throw away the garbage and start over. Item number 4, the Rambo tactical knife with the hollow handle. It looks incredibly intimidating. A massive, serrated blade with a screw-off pommel. Inside the handle, there are waterproof matches, a fishing hook, and some fishing line. The compass is built right into the cap. It is the ultimate all-in-one wilderness tool. It is also a catastrophic structural failure, waiting for the exact wrong moment to blindside you. Here is the cold, unyielding reality of metallurgy and mechanical leverage. To make room for those matches and fishing hooks inside the handle, the manufacturer had to remove the steel. A real survival knife is full tang, meaning the thick steel of the blade continues all the way down through the handle in one solid, unbroken piece. It can absorb the massive shock and kinetic energy of chopping and prying. But your hollow-handled tactical knife? The blade is attached to the hollow aluminum handle by a single, tiny metal bolt or a weak spot weld. Imagine this scenario. The power has been out for 48 hours. The temperature in your living room is plunging. You decided to break down a piece of wooden furniture to burn in your fireplace. You place the blade of your tactical knife against a thick piece of oak. You grab a heavy piece of firewood and strike the back of the blade to drive it through the wood. A standard survival technique called battening. You strike the knife. The wood splits slightly. You strike it again. But this time, you hear a loud metallic snap. It isn't the wood. The weak weld at the base of the blade just sheared completely off under the immense kinetic shock. The heavy steel blade violently ricochets off the wood, flying through the air, completely uncontrolled. In a fraction of a second, your ultimate survival tool has transformed into a spinning razor blade. If it hits your leg, and severs a femoral artery. You will bleed out on your living room floor in under 3 minutes, surrounded by the useless waterproof matches that spilled out of the broken handle. Stop buying movie props. Buy a boring, fixed blade, full-tang carbon steel knife that can survive being run over by a truck. Item number 5. The unvented kerosene space heater. The grid is dead. The house is freezing. You drag your heavy kerosene space heater into the center of the living room, strike a match, and light the wick. Within minutes, the room is flooded with glorious, intense heat. You take off your jacket. You sit back. You think you have beaten the blackout. You haven't. You have just initiated a chemical reaction that will slowly drown your house in toxic moisture. Let's look at the stoichiometric combustion of hydrocarbons. When you burn a hydrocarbon fuel like kerosene or unvented propane, the chemical reaction consumes oxygen and produces 2 primary byproducts: carbon dioxide and dihydrogen monoxide. Water. For every gallon of kerosene you burn inside your sealed living room, the combustion process pumps roughly 1 entire gallon of aerosolized water vapor directly into the air. You cannot see it at first, but the air becomes heavy. The humidity spikes to near 100%. That airborne moisture begins to settle on every cold surface in the room. It soaks into your drywall. It permeates your couch cushions. It seeps into your blankets and your clothing. While the heater is running, you feel fine because the air is hot, but fuel is finite. Eventually, the kerosene runs dry. The flame sputters and dies. The moment the heat source vanishes, the temperature in the room crashes. But now, you are not just sitting in a cold room. You are sitting in a damp, saturated swamp. The moisture trapped in your clothes and blankets rapidly cools. Conduction accelerates. The dampness pulls the heat out of your core violently. The frost begins to form on the inside of your windows and then on the walls. You essentially built a humid, toxic sauna that freezes solid the moment the flame dies, guaranteeing deep hypothermia. And that is assuming the carbon monoxide buildup didn't quietly put you into a permanent coma first. If you must use emergency combustion heating, you absolutely must manage ventilation, or you are engineering your own frozen tomb. Item number 6. The unmuffled, unconcealed portable gas generator. This is the holy grail of the suburban prepper. The power goes out, and within 10 minutes, they are dragging a heavy, bright red gas generator out of the garage. They pull the cord. The motor roars to life. They run an extension cord inside, plug in the refrigerator, turn on a few lights, and sit down to watch a movie on their laptop. They think they are the king of the neighborhood. They are not a king. They are a target. They just rang the dinner bell for every desperate, freezing, starving person in a 3-mile radius. You have to understand the terrifying acoustics of a collapsed grid. In normal times, the world is filled with a high floor of ambient noise. Highway traffic, airplanes, air conditioning units, and industrial hums blend together to mask localized sounds. But in a total blackout, that ambient noise floor drops to absolute zero. The silence is deafening. In that dead silence, an 80 decibel, 2-stroke combustion engine screaming in your driveway doesn't just make noise. It broadcasts an undeniable acoustic beacon. The sound cuts through the freezing air, traveling for miles. What does that sound tell the desperate mob moving through the darkness? It tells them that you have electricity. And if you have electricity, you have heat. You have fresh food in your humming refrigerator. You have fuel. You possess everything they are currently watching their children suffer without. You did not buy comfort. You bought a siege. You have painted a massive, glowing bullseye on your front door. If you are running a generator without an extreme acoustic baffling enclosure, a buried exhaust system, or a sound-dampening box lined with mass-loaded vinyl, and you are not practicing absolute, religious light discipline, you are advertising your resources to people who have nothing to lose. The mob will follow the sound. They will find your house, and they will not ask politely to share your extension cord. In a true collapse, visibility is vulnerability. The people who survive are the ones who embrace the silence, who stay in the dark, and who do not advertise their survival capability to a desperate world. The illusion of preparedness is the most dangerous weapon the modern world wields against you. You cannot buy your way out of the apocalypse with cheap plastic, hollow metal, and bad chemistry. Survival is not a shopping list. It is a mastery of physics, a deep respect for the unforgiving laws of biology, and the ruthless elimination of any tool that compromises your security. Empty your bags. Throw out the gimmicks. Audit your gear with the cold, cynical eye of someone who knows that the margin for error is exactly zero. Physics doesn't take bribes. Your choice. Make it count.